Welcome. Tonight we're looking into some true stories that are genuinely disturbing. Real crimes, disappearances. They're the kind of things that sound made up, but they're not. We're going through the files, pulling out the details of cases that, frankly, shocked the world. We'll cover a few really chilling ones. There's a spring breaker caught up in, well, a dark ritual down in Mexico, then a killer obsessed with a chessboard, and the story of Japan's so-called otaku murderer, Tsutomu Miyazaki. And finally, a disappearance that ends in a place you just wouldn't expect.
It's crucial with these, I think, not just to list the terrible things that happen, but to try and grasp the thinking behind them, or just the sheer bizarre circumstances. The reality in these files is almost always more unsettling than whatever people first guessed.
Absolutely. Let's start with Mark Kilroy. Spring 1989. It shows how fast things can go wrong, horribly wrong. So Mark Kilroy, 21 years old, pre-med student. He's on spring break down in Matamoros, Mexico. Standard stuff, right? He's with his friends trying to get back across the bridge to Brownsville, Texas. It's late, it's crowded, chaos. And somewhere in that chaos, he gets separated. His friends figured, they'd just meet up on the U.S. side. But he never made it. He just vanished.
And for over a month, nothing. A responsible kid, just gone. Police on both sides, completely baffled, no witnesses, no leads.
Yeah, dead end. Until a completely different investigation focusing on drugs suddenly cracked it open.
Right. That was at Rancho Santa Elena. Police were targeting a drug gang there. They detained this guy, Serafin Hernandez Garcia, and, well, he doesn't just talk about duds.
No, he calmly admits he helped kidnap and murder a gringo.
And they knew immediately it had to be Mark Kilroy.
And this is where it gets really dark. Because the motive, it wasn't just cartel violence, was it?
Not at all. The files are clear. This was an abduction by a cult, a violent voodoo cult practicing something called Palo Mayombe. But their leader, this guy El Padrino, he twisted it. They wanted spiritual protection for their drug smuggling, like invincibility.
And the way to get the strongest magic
was a ritual sacrifice. Specifically, they believed they needed a foreigner, a gringo.
The ritual itself it's hard to even describe. Mark was tortured, then decapitated with a machete, and then they took his brain, boiled it in a pot.
To make a brain stew, the idea was consuming it would grant them power, protection from the gods, make them bulletproof.
When Serafin took the police to the shack, they found it. The cauldron, the brains. Mark's body was in a shallow grave nearby. His heart had been ripped out.
And the scale of it, that's what's staggering. El Padrino, the leader, he apparently started sacrificing animals for local dealers, called it a protection agency. But he escalated. Believed he needed, quote, the blood of a gringo who had to die screaming for the really potent magic.
And Mark wasn't the only one. The investigation eventually tied them to at least 60 murders. 60.
All ritual sacrifices, just unbelievable fanaticism fueled by drugs.
5 of the gang got 60 years. El Padrino, the high priest, he fled to Mexico City. But they tracked him down. He ended up shooting from his apartment window, throwing money. Died in the gunfight.
But the really chilling part, police believed he had way more followers, maybe up to 90 cultists still out there, potentially active.
It's terrifying. Okay, so if that's the horror of, ritualistic belief gone mad, our next case is about a very different kind of darkness. Cold, calculated. Let's talk about Alexander Pichushkin, the chessboard killer.
Pichushkin is interesting because his motivation seems almost entirely narcissistic. He knew about Andrei Chikatilo, the famous Russian killer, and his whole goal, his driving force, was to kill more people than Chikatilo.
Yeah, and he had a number in mind, didn't he? 64?
Exactly, the number of squares on a chessboard. That was his target.
And his hunting ground was Bitsa Park in Moscow. He'd approach people there, often older men, but sometimes women, even children. Start conversations, philosophical chats. Get them comfortable.
He was apparently quite good at building rapport, making them trust him.
Then he'd lead them off somewhere isolated. Often say he buried a dog there, asked them to kneel down and pay respects or something.
And when they knelt, that was it. He'd strike them from behind with a hammer, sometimes a wrench. Quick, hard.
He was careful, too. Tried to minimize blood splatter, but the details. Sometimes he'd insert an empty vodka bottle into the skull wound.
Just pure desecration. And there was one victim, possibly an old crush, who had small metal stakes hammered into her brain. It suggests a personal element sometimes, maybe rage.
He killed for 14 years, and it only stopped because of one mistake, one slip-up in 2006.
His last victim, Marina Moskalyova, she was a co-worker. She knew him.
And she carried a metro ticket in her jacket pocket. Police found it.
It had CCTV data, but crucially, Pichushkin's phone number. He'd given it to her.
Huge mistake when they searched his apartment.
They found the chessboard, a sketch of one.
And he'd filled in the squares, date and time for each murder. 61 squares filled. He was so close to his goal.
61 confirmed victims.
And at trial, no remorse, none. He apparently enjoyed recounting the details. He even said, the closer a person is to you and the better you know them, the more pleasurable it is to kill them.
Chilling. He took satisfaction in beating Chikatilo's count. He knew he'd never get out.
Right. Okay, let's shift again. From that kind of cold ambition to Japan. It's Tsutomu Miyazaki. A case driven by maybe isolation, alienation.
It seems that way. The media dubbed him the otaku murderer, which had huge consequences.
The horror started in '88, August. A 4-year-old girl, Marie Connor, disappeared. Later, her parents received a box. Inside, ash human teeth and a note misspelled. Marie cremated bones, investigate proof.
Just pure terror inflicted on the family.
And over the next 10 months, 3 more little girls. Abducted, tormented, killed. His actions were vile. Drinking blood, eating parts of hands. He kept body parts, even kept one victim's body in his apartment for a time.
And he contacted the families. He'd call them, just breathe heavily into the phone, no words.
He also sent these disturbing postcards made from cutout magazine letters. Things like, Erica cold cough throat rest death. Cryptic, terrifying.
It points to someone deeply disconnected, living in a fantasy world, albeit a monstrous one.
His capture was almost random. He was caught trying to assault someone in a park, had a zoom lens camera, fled naked.
When the police searched his place, that's when they found the remains of his last victim in a closet.
And the videotapes. Over 5,000 tapes, anime, slasher films.
And that's what led to the otaku murderer label. Otaku just means someone with obsessive interests, often anime or manga. But after Miyazaki, the term became incredibly negative in Japan. The media basically linked his obsessive hobbies directly to his violence. It unfairly stigmatized a whole subculture.
Yeah, it's a huge cultural impact. His defense in court was bizarre, too. Claimed an alter ego, Rat Man. Made him do it. He even drew pictures of this Rat Man character. It didn't work, obviously.
No, he was sentenced to death by hanging in '97, finally executed in 2008.
Okay, one last story. This one's different. No cults, no serial killer calculation. Just tragic. The disappearance of Corey McKeek.
Relatively recent, too. 2016.
Corey McKeek was 23, an RAF airman in Suffolk, England. He'd been out drinking, got kicked out of a club for being too drunk, standard night out gone a bit wrong. Last CCTV footage shows him walking into this little alley, like a service area, full of big wheelie bins. It's 3:25 a.m.
Yeah.
And then nothing. He vanished from camera view.
But his phone data told a story. After he went into that alley, his phone started moving. Traveled about 12 miles northwest in just under half an hour. That meant he had to be in a vehicle.
And the police figured it out. The bin lorry, the garbage truck, that collected rubbish from that exact spot that morning. Its load weight was off. It was carrying about 200 pounds more than it should have.
200 pounds, roughly Corey's weight.
So the conclusion, accepted by police and his family now, is just heartbreakingly mundane in a way.
He was extremely drunk. He likely climbed into one of those large commercial bins, maybe to sleep it off.
Fell asleep. Then the bin lorry came, picked up the bin.
And tipped him into the truck. He would have been crushed by the mechanism or the weight of the rubbish.
The truck's route and where it dumped its load matched his phone's final location data, a landfill site.
They searched that landfill extensively, a massive operation, cost over £1 million, sifted through, 7,000 tons of waste?
Yeah, an incredible amount. But they never found him. No trace.
The investigation is technically still open, but everyone accepts what likely happened.
Just vanished into the waste stream. A terrible accidental end. So tonight we've seen ritual horror, calculated killing sprees, crimes born of isolation, and just a tragic accident. The truth behind these events is often so much stranger and darker than you could imagine.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? We look for complex motives, grand schemes, but sometimes the most horrifying truths are hidden in plain sight. In the mundane details, a phone number on a ticket, a weight discrepancy on a bin lorry log. The real darkness isn't always in the shadows. Sometimes it's right there in the everyday. Something to consider.
Thank you for joining us as we explored these deeply unsettling accounts.